So hello everybody. So you all always come up with the very best questions to ask me. In last episode I talked about fruit forward and I thought I would take a moment to explain that. First and foremost, do not confuse fruit forward with sweet. Just like in episode 159 when I covered dry versus sweet, fruit forward does not mean sweet. So then what is fruit forward? Fruit forward is simply a term to describe a wine where the fruit components overpower the rest of the components within the flavor profile. It's simply a style of wine. So there are many factors that lead to a fruit-forward style of wine, and one is the varietal. Zinfandel, Gamay, Malbec are all described as jammy and tend to lead to a fruit-forward style of wine. A second and very important factor is how long they let the grapes ripen on the vine. California Cabernet Sauvignon is known to be very fruit-forward because they let the grapes ripen to a very high level before they pick it, as compared to the Cabernet Sauvignon grown in Bordeaux, where they pick it at a much lower Brix content, not quite so ripe, and you get a much more earthy style. Another great example would be the Syrah or Shiraz grown down in Australia, which is a much riper fruit compared to the Syrah that's picked and grown in France. Now, in general, it's safe to say that stylistically, the wines from the New World, so that's from the United States, South America, Australia, tend to have riper fruit and tend to be more fruit forward than their counterparts over in Europe, where they tend to pick the fruit at a lower ripening level and they are less fruit forward. By the way, the riper the fruit, the higher alcohol content you get within the wine. Number 3, just like the choice of when to pick the grapes, the winemakers can choose to use oak, particularly new oak, to help tame some of those fruit flavors to balance out the wine. So one really important note to add is no matter what the wine is, every single wine tends to lose some of that fruitiness over time, and some of those other flavors tend to come through in the wine, and this is one of the reasons why people love to age their wines. Now, many wine people use fruit forward as a descriptor for negative connotations to describe a wine that's not balanced or not complex, and I don't agree with that at all. I think it's just simply a style of wine, a style of wine that many of us love. So what would be an opposite descriptor of fruit forward? That would be earthy, savory, herbaceous. All of those are great ways to describe those sort of tertiary notes that come through when your wine is less fruit forward. So for those of you that love that big fruit forward style of wine like I do, keep drinking your Napa Cabernets. I love that style and there's nothing wrong with it at all. Cheers, everybody.